Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Haley Gassar. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Noggin Guru. I'm joined by Joe Grusenmeyer, our Director of Sales from Lorman, and Lauren Gage, a Senior Account Executive on the Lorman team. For more than 37 years, Lorman Education Services has been a trusted provider of continuing education and professional training, offering on-demand courses, live webinars, and certification programs across multiple industries. Professionals trust Lorman for their compliance, upskilling, and career development needs, and we're proud to support organizations just like yours. To get started, we wanted to address the challenges of compliance and workforce engagement. And as I mentioned, we do have a poll here. So my first question here is, what are the top challenges your organization faces when it comes to employee compliance? It looks like the vast majority of you have the same challenges that we see our audience facing. Evolving regulations, huge problem. Resource constraints, huge issue, whether it be personnel or financial. Employee engagement is a big problem. And another one that we added in and I saw people answer is fragmented systems. There's always a new system or a new training platform. And it's difficult to keep your employees focused, to stay compliant with the moving target of evolving regulations, and to do it while wearing multiple hats, which many of us are in our day-to-day. And this has major impacts. Non-compliance is costly. Your organization can be penalized. Non-compliance is also disruptive. It slows down your business because you're addressing these issues caused by non-compliance. And if you think about the news, the internet, social media, it can severely damage your reputation. An error or breach becomes a big story really quickly. Low engagement is another issue that causes high turnover. It's expensive to hire. New employees take a long time to ramp up and are less productive for a long period of time. But we know, thankfully, that lots of this turnover is preventable. If you have career advancement available to your staff, if you can work on programs that retain your employees, and if you're giving them relevant skills in the workforce, which is rapidly evolving, as we've said, with new regulations, new ways of working, new best practices. These are all ways you can engage your employees and hopefully have more productivity, less turnover, and a more highly satisfied workforce. Now with that, just setting the stage with some challenges and some of the things that we've seen are the organizations we work with deal with, I'm going to hand it over to Joe Grusenmeyer, and he's going to talk about how Lorman addresses these unique challenges.
Great, thanks so much, Haley. So look forward to digging right in here. So as Haley kind of mentioned, right, so over the past 37 years, our organization, we've really been helping companies to build that best-in-class L&D strategy. One thing that we know firsthand is that every organization is a little bit different. And so something that we really pride ourselves in is really helping to customize solutions that ultimately meet and address some of those challenges that most companies face. I thought it was really interesting to hear from Haley and how from that poll, 4 of the 7 challenges that you guys mentioned today are some of the ones I'm going to talk about. And so I'll dig right into those and share ultimately what those challenges are and then how you can potentially help to address or course correct some of those issues. So the first one that Haley also touched on from the poll was limited training budget and resources, right? We know that there's not an unlimited bank, right, that you can go to and turn to for training and development. And so one thing that we hear from a lot of customers is it can be really costly to build potentially custom training that's going to suit their specific needs. One of the solutions that we help to provide companies with is a really large, extensive library of a lot of different types of topics. When we look at training in general, we refer to it as almost 3 pillars of training. One is going to be your compliance aspect. That second area is continued ed. And then the third is general business skills. And over the past 37 years, what we've been doing is working with professionals to help build an extensive library that really touches and helps companies in all those areas. One of the other main challenges is just the effectiveness, overall effectiveness of training, and then how companies are engaging, or how, more importantly, how employees are engaging with training. The days of bringing in your employee base to do a in-person 3-day training are really in the past. We do hear companies from time to time doing trainings like that, but now what we're hearing is people want training that they can access when, where, and how. And with that in mind, we have an extensive on-demand library that consists of over 4,000 courses that people can literally take when, where, and how they want at the ease of, if they've got internet access, they can access courses. If they potentially don't have access, you can actually do MP3 files as well. But it's all about being able to provide that training to folks when, where, and how they want. So we're gonna stop again here to take one additional poll before we dig into that third challenge that I'm gonna address, but we're curious to know, of the folks on today's call, how many different types of systems are your organizations using to go and potentially do employee training? Maybe it relates to compliance or general business skills or continued ed.
All right, that poll is live on your screen now. Just take a moment to select one of the answers that most represents your organization. How many systems does your organization use for employee compliance and engagement? 1, 2 to 4, 5 plus, and an answer we get all the time, unsure, lost count. And then keep this poll open for another 5 seconds. Just get a quick response. All right, I am closing the poll now, and I'm going to share out the results from this poll. If you can see them on your screen, 70% of you said 2 to 4 different tools. Not as confusing as unsure, lost count, but it's still a lot to contend with, a lot to track, and a lot for your employees to engage with as well. So I'm going to close this poll down and let Joe get back to it.
Great, thank you. No surprise to hear multiple different solutions and tools that folks are using. Round of applause to the one that said one. That's very impressive. We don't hear that very often. And we also hear that as a main pain point. And so when you think about ease of use and access, right? That's one thing that we think is very important when it comes to training and development for organizations, and more specifically employees. They want to be able to go to one, maybe two solutions if possible, to be able to find and get the information they need. And so when we look to partner with organizations, we take 2 different approaches, right? So the first one, some organizations may already have a traditional sort of LMS, learning management system, in place. And if they have that in place and they just need content, the beauty about that is we can actually download SCORM 1.2 files of additional ancillary content they may need, package those up, and stick them into that LMS, right? And have a single sign-on, one access point where your employees can go in and access that content. Some other organizations we work with don't have an LMS, and that's completely okay as well. A lot of other companies will use us as an LMS system where they can build new hire onboarding strategies, leadership development programs. Maybe it's just general business skills, or it's compliance for HR, anti-harassment, DEI, all that kind of good stuff. In that instance, a lot of companies will just use us as an LMS, with the only kind of caveat that you can't build and in essence bring your own content into our platform. And then now we get to the fun part, the fines and the fear factor, if you will. So one other main issue, or one other area that we know is very important, is, heaven forbid, if something were to happen in your organization, that you're able to provide that tracking, that you have provided sort of those compliance basics to your employees. So we are, as a company, we are partnered with 100+ accreditation bodies throughout the US. So if there's new laws and regulations, we pride ourselves in helping our customers stay up to speed with those to avoid potential fines, regulatory issues that could potentially could arise. And I know I touched on the partnership with accreditation bodies, but the big part about the US, specifically state by state, there are very different laws and regulations. Every single month on average, we are producing roughly around 50 new courses into our on-demand library, and those are primarily based off of any of those new laws, regulations that take effect. The laws and regulations for Illinois, where Lauren and I are at, in the Chicagoland area, are very different than potentially California if we have some folks that are in that area. And so what we do is we keep up to date with all of those certain things based on states to ensure that our end users have and get what they need in terms of compliance. And then the other really big feather in our cap that we look at, and I talked about those 3 prongs at the additional set of the call. The kind of middle prong that we talk about is continued education, right? And so there's a lot of professionals, depending on their master of their craft, they're potentially going to need continued ed credits and certificates. And so if you're an HR professional and you need to take SHRM courses each year for CEs, we can help you with that. If you are an attorney and you're practicing law in potentially Illinois and Indiana, and there are certain CLE courses that you need to take and you're looking to optimize that, we can look to help provide you with courses and access to continue those certs amongst a myriad of other ones that we have on our platform that Lauren will dig into today when she gives you the demo. The other really nice part about that we hear from customers is tracking can be a big challenge for employees to track. Oh, okay, this year I've got to take 15 courses, and what do I need to take and how do I track it and all that kind of good stuff. On the back end of our tool, we also provide systems and measures for companies to be able to track those continued ed courses as they're progressing throughout the year and taking those for their needs. And then really the last main challenge that we hear, and Haley had touched on this too, is really employee turnover and lost productivity. We have companies that come to us every day and say, hey, you know what? We've got a big retention issue challenge here, or we're worried because we don't really have any good succession plan in place for the folks that are going to be retiring. And so what a lot of companies will do is they'll leverage training to not only help with retainment, but also help with like succession planning. And studies have shown that folks that are engaged, that are training and developing, will typically last and stay in an organization much longer. The last point I'll make before we flip it to Lauren in terms of giving you guys an overview via demo is that the one thing that we know at the end of the day is it's all about your employees. And I refer to something called WIFM, what's in it for me? And something I want to leave you with is I want you to be thinking about, at the end of the day, what is in it for your employees to take this training? How does it help them? It helps potentially for compliance from the business respect, but how does it help them professionally? A lot of companies will leverage really effective techniques for promotion to say, hey, we've identified this person as an emerging leader, and we want to invest in them with training to get them to that next step. And so with that, I want to encourage folks to lifelong learning, and excited to have Lauren now walk you through our platform and show you the ease of use and navigation of how it all works.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe, and hello, everyone. As you mentioned, my name is Lauren, and so I'm really excited to walk you through Lorman's training platform today. As Joe had mentioned, we know that organizations and teams like yourself face real challenges when it comes to workforce training. So whether it's ensuring compliance, upskilling employees efficiently, or even just making learning accessible and trackable. During this demo, I'll just show you how Lorman can help you solve some of these challenges with a platform that's designed for ease, for flexibility, and ultimately for measurable results. Before I do that, I just wanted to mention a quote. So if anyone has ever read Atomic Habits, James Clear, he emphasizes really that if you want to build a habit, you need to make the actions to get to that habit easy and accessible, right? So I'll give the common example of going to the gym, right? If you have a New Year's resolution of going to the gym more, if you're going to make it accessible, you're not going to go to a gym that's 45 minutes away. You're going to choose a gym that's 5 minutes away, that's easily accessible, right? And when you're starting to work out, you're not going to have a 2-hour workout plan every day. That's not easy, right? You're going to do maybe a 30-minute workout to start and to scale. So really the same applies to workplace learning. So if training is difficult to access or requires too many steps, employees won't engage. And that's really why Lorman's platform is designed for kind of seamless access across desktop, across mobile, if they have laptops, really just kind of meeting employees where they are and removing some of those barriers to learning. So we'll walk through the end user experience today, and you'll just see how intuitive it is here. But if I navigate up to the top hand page right here, and you can actually go onto lorman.com and see most of this. One thing that we really focused on, right, Joe had mentioned it, is the days of in-person learning, right? It's not like it used to be. And so employees, right, need flexibility. We have workforces that are hybrid, right? Some fully remote, some that are spread out across the country. And so most of our courses are going to be in the on-demand format. So employees can access these 24/7, right? They can pause, they can rewatch it as many times as they need to. And then the second kind of format that we have is live webinars, touching on that challenge of staying up to date on compliance, making sure your organization is compliant. We have a whole production team that creates and adds about 50 new courses. And similar to what we're doing here, right, employees will have the option to submit questions and get those questions answered in real time by the subject matter expert who is teaching that course. A really valuable experience. And the last part I'll touch on this area is learning paths. When you're thinking about onboarding a new hire or transitioning somebody from a peer-to-peer role to now a new supervisor role, that can be really overwhelming. And so providing them with kind of a structured way to upskill and to learn is really important. So learning paths, we actually can work with you to create and to customize any amount of learning paths that you need. So if you want to learn more about that, we're happy to dive into it. We do have some kind of pre-made learning paths in our website here. You can dive into some of these like management soft skills, Microsoft Excel basics, so quite a few of those. And the last point I'll make too, there might be some professionals in your organization that need to maintain their certifications. So Nikon is actually a company that we support, and they primarily use Lorman to ensure that their employees have an easy way to maintain their certifications and get those credits. So whether you have a general counsel or attorneys who need CLE, maybe some folks in HR, right, who have an HRCI insurance certification, not only do our courses offer valuable insight, but they also allow you to maintain your certification by getting those recertification credits. So with that, I will segue into the learning library. Now you can see here we have around 4,000 different types of courses, right? So I'm sure everybody on this call has a very different training structure. You might have an LMS or a centralized place, or you might have a couple different vendors that you're working with. But I think one of the main challenges that we hear is access to the right content, right? And so one thing that Lorman does is we cover pretty much all aspects within a company. And to my other point about making training easy and accessible, on the left-hand side here, you can easily filter for the courses based on topics. As an example, one thing we're hearing more and more is the rise of AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So if you click on this AI button right here, this will filter to all of the AI courses that are offered in the Learning Library. We also have to touch on maybe the three pillars that we focus on. So workplace compliance, A is the first one. So under workplace compliance, we have anything from the general harassment courses to conflicts of interest and cybersecurity. We also have BSA, AML training for financial institutions. The second tier that we really focus on is more of the general business skills, right? Courses and trainings that every professional can benefit from and help them to be more efficient and productive in their roles. So in the general business skills, you can see time management, we have communication, even some hardware skills like Microsoft Outlook, tips and tricks to keep your inbox clean and organized. And even leadership development. I think obviously every organization have leaders of different levels, right? First-time supervisors, director, VP, but everyone has their strengths, right? And areas of opportunities. Ton of courses within those. And then the last tier I'll focus on too is profession specific and industry specific. So someone in customer service is going to have a very different role from someone in human resources. For example, someone in HR, you may need to stay up to date or learn a little bit more about complex issues or topics like FMLA. So if you go to employee leaves, for example, and if you type in FMLA here, that will filter to all of the FMLA courses for the HR professionals. And last but not least, different industries. So if you're in, let's say you need some project management courses, we have those here, nonprofit as well right here. So just a kind of a variety of different types of topics, whether you're different professionals or different industries. Now, the third part of this demo and last part that I wanted to show you is the team management capabilities and what it looks like from an end user perspective. So we know that implementing any type of system may have a learning curve, so you want to make that as easy as possible, both for yourself as an admin and also for your employees, right? So if I go into any of these courses, let's say I'm going to go into a general communication course, and I go into, let's say, effective questioning and listening techniques. If I click into this course, I can see the lay of the land, what this course will cover. If I go into agenda, I can see a further breakdown of the course. And two other things to note here is that this will show you the length of the course, which is also broken up into course chapters for like a micro learning type training. And most importantly, we want to make sure that employees are actually retaining the trainings and applying them to their role. So we have exams that are administered at the end of these courses to ensure that employees are really applying the training with situational based questions and multiple choice questions as well. And when they do complete the course, they'll have a trail, so to make sure that it is completed. So they will receive a certificate of completion, which they can access and download right within their accounts. So if you are ready to assign this out, let's say this is a course that you need to assign maybe just to your entire organization or maybe just to your leadership team. What you'll see here is totally customized to your organization. So you can have as many teams as you like, but if you want to select your entire organization, you'll click all members. If you want to sign it out to just one team, you can do that. And then just as best practices, whatever system you're using at the moment or whatever kind of tools, we always encourage you to set a course deadline for action, right? And accountability. So when you set a course deadline here and click assign, those employees will be notified that they've been assigned that course via email. And when they log in, they'll be directed to their dashboard, which is what you're seeing here. So this is the final part. So as an end user, I can see that my name's here. We'll co-brand this with your logo as well. And to help me prioritize my training journey, this tab here helps me understand which courses I need to complete first with this course deadline tab. If I go into my course tab here, I can access my certificates of completion, I can download the written material, and even directly view the courses right within here. Now they will only see this My Training section, so designated admins will have access to all of these other features and functions here. And the main one I want to hone in on, because we talk about compliance, we talk about just tracking in general, is the reports. So when we go into this member tab, I can transparently see each person's training journey. And there's different reports that you can pull and we can customize them from you. But if you aren't doing this already, right, I guess two ways that people use these reports. The first is obviously from a compliance perspective. You can download all these reports into a CSV file. So if anything happens or if you need to show a trail of who's completed what, that's got you covered. The second way that we see people use these reports is either for performance reviews or promotions, which is really important for employee retention. So you can download these reports and say, you know what, Roy's completed a handful of courses more than we asked him to, right? Because we wanted him to take initiative and we're seeing that he is. So in that case, we're going to identify him as a potential leader. So a lot of different ways you can use it, but we see the most success with those two ways. And I know we quickly went through this demo. As I mentioned before, if you want to have a more tailored demonstration or just ask questions of what other companies are doing to have training success, we really encourage you to reach out and we'd be more than happy to have a conversation. With that, I will stop sharing and I will pass this on to Haley.
Thank you, Lauren. Excellent demo. We have quite a few questions in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and share some of those with the team. So the first question is, do you have HIPAA or OSHA training available through Lorman?
Really great question. I'm happy to fill that one. So it depends on the actual certifications. For OSHA training, a lot of those courses are typically in person, right? We do have some top level courses on both of those topics, but we would like to maybe peel the onion back a little bit further to understand your needs. The other thing I would mention is that we also, if we didn't have a particular course off the shelf per se, we have relationships with a lot of different presenters and professionals that we could potentially help find someone to connect the dots for you.
Mhm. And to just add to that, we do have an OSHA and safety tab under that kind of topic area in the Learning Library, as well as HIPAA, which is under the healthcare bracket if you go under there. If you want to take a look, awesome. To Joe's point, with OSHA, you might need to be OSHA 10 certified, those types of certifications. If you're looking for more of training for your managers or just having a once a month safety course, we do have some of those as well.
Thank you, Lauren and Joe. The next question is, can I request specific training topics from Lorman?
Yep, you bet. Yeah, to my other point there, if there's ever topics or areas that you guys are looking for help with, let us know. We have a production team. As we mentioned, we're producing roughly 50 new courses every single month. So if there's certain topics that are of interest, we can certainly look at building custom training for just your organization. Or if we hear the topic over and over again, we usually know that's an indicative thing that a lot of our organizations that partner us with need that. And so we'll produce those courses as well. We have a sort of a roadmap that we build every year on certain areas. Like Lauren touched on AI today, that was based off of demand of our users. And so that's how you're seeing that grow exponentially.
In addition to that, I think we have that roadmap that Joe's talking about, but we also are aware that there's changes to different parts of different industries and regulations, and there's a timeliness to our content, which is why we have so many live courses each month. Very responsive to the needs of not only our customers and users, but also just what's happening in the industry. So great question. The next question is, I don't know where to start with training. Is there support to help my organization get started?
A great question. Yeah, we completely understand, right? If you don't have training in place at the moment, or maybe it's not as built out, that can be like a daunting experience, right? And so one of the things that we put an emphasis on that's pretty unique about Lorman is taking a white glove approach, right? And Joe had mentioned that earlier on. Every organization is very different. So the challenges that you're going to face are very different from the next company. So we'll actually partner you with your own dedicated customer success manager if you have an enterprise account, right? And they will be there with you every step of the way. So even before you roll out Lorman, we'll meet with you. They'll be able to ask you questions about what are the challenges that you're facing, what's working well, and help you to develop either quarterly plans and really roll this out. So our goal is to make this as successful as possible for you. And by doing that, you have our commitment to be there with you every step of the way with that customer success manager.
Yep, I think Lauren hit it right on the head there, right? It's all about the customization that you guys need. I think a big thing I think about here too, right, is that most organizations, to your point, right, if you're just starting, that can be a pretty daunting task, right? And so something that we really pride ourselves in, and I think most organizations do, is to really understand the current state of your training. And then the ultimate, like the desire to say, like, where do you want to go? What do you want this to be? Do you want it to be a best-in-class organization that's based on training, like a similar university-style approach? And so what we do is we take a very prescriptive sort of like doctor approach, right? So if you were to go to the doctor today and they said, here, just take this medicine, I hope you wouldn't, because they didn't ask you, is it your head? Is it your neck? Is it your back? And so that's really what we do too, is we really love to understand your business, your challenges, what's going on there. And then from there, we can say, oh, guess what? We've heard that before. And this was the prescription that helped that organization to fix that problem, right? And so we've really, to Lauren's point, the white glove approach to really understand what you need. And then we can give you recommendations and make adjustments that you think are going to be relevant for you.
I like that response, Joe. I'm picturing you with a stethoscope, figuring out what's going on with your patient and really assessing it. But it's really true about the team. And that's where that 37 years of experience with Lorman comes into play. This team has seen so many different kinds of scenarios from different unique businesses across such a large variety of industries, and seen some trends, but also seen outliers that need different approaches to learning, and they've seen it all. One last question. We have quite a few in the chat that are specific that we're going to follow up one-to-one with users, with attendees today. But this one is a good one. I am manually reminding my team members to take courses. Do you have automation for reminders?
Mhm. We do, yeah. I think right from if you are an HR professional or a manager, right, you already have a lot on your plate. Having to manually send that out and set reminders for yourself to send them out, right, is a lot. And so part of our goal is to save you time. And so with the Lorman platform, I had mentioned the course deadlines, right? Even with the Learning Pass, you can set deadlines. With the course, like single courses, you can set deadlines. And what that does is it actually pushes out automated reminders, right, throughout the course of the deadline. So they'll receive one immediately when they've been assigned the course. They'll receive another one, right, a week before the course or the learning path is due. And if it is past due, it'll also send a notification reminding them that it's past due, right, encouraging them to access it as soon as possible.
I really want to thank Joe and Lauren for taking the time to walk us through this solution, and all of you for joining. Please follow up with us if you have any other questions. If your questions weren't responded to during the call, we will follow up directly. I'll share those with Lauren and Joe so they can be in touch. Again, we appreciate your time and thank you so much. I hope you all have a nice Thursday. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.